Hey folks, Mav's Dad here back with another watch review. Now this is normally the point where I would say, hey, I have something really special or unique for you today, but I really can't say that about this watch. This is the Swiss Legend Neptune model number 21819P-33-BL. And this is really another one of my why I hate crappy watches videos. This thing is really just, it leaves a lot to be desired. But what we'll do is we'll open it up, look at the fit and finish, the features and the functions, and then I'll give you my overall impressions of the Swiss Legend Neptune. Swiss Legend box, decent box. That's kind of always the case with these crappy watches. They have decent watch boxes to make you think it's a much better watch than it actually is. So there you go, it's got this soft plush top here. Interesting. You open it up, of course you've got your warranty stuff and your manual back there. We'll pull the watch out. Almost need a crane to lift this thing out, it's so heavy, and I'll talk more about that later. God, this thing is really, really heavy. All right, what I'll do is I'll list the basic specs on the left-hand side, and then we'll go into more detail about this watch. You're looking at a 52mm case. It's 19 millimeters thick. I mean, it is incredibly thick. You've got a 24mm bracelet. It's got a screw down crown. Talk a little bit more about that later. It's 100 meters water resistant. We'll talk more about that later as well. It does have a date function over here at 4 o'clock, and we'll talk more about that. And a unidirectional bezel that obviously I'll talk more about that later as well. So those are the basic specs of the watch. Oh God, where do I begin with this thing? First of all, this thing is massive. It is the biggest watch I've ever reviewed by far. And let me show you a comparison. This is my brand new Rangeman. I mean, it even dwarfs the Rangeman in size and in thickness. I mean, it's the biggest watch I've ever seen. It's huge and unnecessarily huge. There's no reason for it to be this big, other than that's just the way it was designed. Because big watches are all the trend today, and that's what they've done with this thing. This thing, the watch itself weighs 6.27 ounces. That's almost half a pound of stainless steel. Now the only thing that I like about this watch, the one and only thing, is the case. It's got this kind of rubber neoprene coated stainless steel case. It's an interesting design choice, and I actually like it. If the watch wasn't so poorly built, I actually like the way it looks. I think it looks pretty cool. The crown, when you pull the crown out, it is a screw down crown. It screws in and unscrews really easily, and it does have a pronounced little crown pop, but it feels fragile, like the actual crown itself is made out of plastic almost. You can see that it's signed there with the Swiss Legend logo, and it screws in pretty easily. There you go. It just feels a little bit delicate to me. I mean, this reminds me very much of the Invicta that I reviewed a few months ago, and it's pretty much the same quality. Now, I know some of you have been suckered into buying these things off of Shop NBC or QVC or whatever those shopping channels that you buy this type of watch off of. But I'm not crazy about this thing, as you can tell already. The date function at 4 o'clock is next to impossible. It's a tiny, tiny window at 4 o'clock. And I have to hold the watch literally within a couple inches of my face to see what the date is. Incredibly hard to read the date. The unidirectional bezel is the hardest bezel I have ever turned. I'm not even going to attempt to turn it right now because it almost hurts to turn it, because if you look at the bezel, those teeth on the bezel are extremely sharp. So it digs into your finger. So if you're trying to turn this thing, I know it sounds a little crazy, but it almost hurts to turn the bezel, not only because you have to dig in your fingers really hard on the bezel, but because the bezel is incredibly, incredibly hard to turn. It's not really a functional bezel, it's just there for looks. Also, the bezel doesn't line up with the 12 o'clock index perfectly, which drives me a little crazy. That's one of my pet peeves. It's actually sitting now between two spots in the bezel. It doesn't naturally line up like this. I had to make it line up. And even then, it's still a little bit off. It does have I think it has a quartz movement in it that has Swiss components. Now the whole watch I'm sure is made in China or Malaysia somewhere. And it might have one or two Swiss components in the movement, in the quartz movement, but that's it. It's not made in Switzerland. It's not it's not from a Swiss company. It's from a company based in Miami, that designs a watch. It's made in China. Any watch, with the name Swiss in it, a lot of times is not Swiss made. So there you go. Just like the Invicta logo has a Swiss cross on it, and they're definitely not made in Switzerland. The same goes with Swiss Legend watches. It's just I like the way it looks. Besides the fact it's so big, it weighs your wrist down. It's that heavy. I've just never encountered a watch this big before. It's a little crazy. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video. I'll go ahead and try this thing on, and we'll talk about it. Hold on just a second. All right, folks, here we go. As you can see, it's way too big for me, which is surprising. There you go. There it is on the wrist. I really can't say anything else about it other than it's like literally weighing my wrist down. It's like I have a 5-pound dumbbell attached to my wrist. It's a little ridiculous. Okay, it's actually a lot ridiculous. So there you go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video. I'm gonna take it off. We're gonna test out this Loom and see if the Loom is any good. Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. What we'll do is I'll go ahead and cut out the studio light here. We'll go ahead and charge this thing up real quick, and we'll test out this Loom to see if the Loom is maybe the only redeeming value or virtue of this watch. I'm guessing it's probably not, but we'll take a look and see what happens. Okay, there's a Loom, folks. Now, I just charged it with my mag light. In fact, I'll do it in front of the camera to show you. Let's count to, I don't know, say 5 or 10 seconds. And it'll give it enough of a charge of that Loom on any other decent watch, any other quality built watch should just light up like crazy. There you go. You can barely see the dots on the indexes, and there seems to be no Loom on the hands or the second hand. That's just insane. So basically this watch has no Loom. That is crazy. Holy Moses. Okay, all right, well, there you go. All I can tell you to do is please stay away from these watches at all costs. These are basically meant for people that don't know anything about watches, and unfortunately, don't educate themselves on what a quality watch should be. Again, like I said, these are sold on a lot of those home shop and network sites like, Shop NBC, QVC, and they're basically for people that, just don't know any better. They see the word Swiss in the brand name, and they think, oh, I'm getting a really good Swiss-made watch for, really incredible price. That just doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. If you want an entry-level Swiss-made watch, I would definitely recommend Victorinox, Swiss Army, or a Tissot. Tissot has some great entry-level Swiss watches. That's where I would go if you want an actual Swiss entry-level watch. Stay away from these things, man. They're just garbage. Oh God. My hands are offended having to hold this thing. God. This is about, I think the retail, if you went to Swiss Legend site, it's like $500. You can get them for $70. Much like Invicta's overinflated MSRPs. Same thing with Swiss Legend. You can basically get the watch for 10% of the MSRP. So if you like this video, please click on like. If you want to subscribe, please do so. I've got a lot of new subscribers, and I really, really appreciate it. I'll put a reminder of that in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. And do yourself a favor, get a Seiko, a Citizen, an Orient, a Casio, and if you want an entry-level Swiss watch, get a Tissot or a Victorinox, Swiss Army, and there's just about any other brand but an Invicta or a Swiss Legend. And I promise you'll be very happy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about this watch that I forgot. You look at the case back here. It's just basically your screw-in case. It's battery operated. It's a quartz watch. I'm guessing it might be maybe a Ronda movement. I'm not sure. Excuse me. But it's just, wow. All I can say is wow. Unbelievable. So please don't fall for this, folks. Go out there and get yourself a good watch. Do a little bit of research, 20 minutes of research will save you a whole bunch of heartache down the road. I mean, you saw the loom. I mean, there's basically no loom on the watch. The bezel is so hard to turn. I'm almost going full force here. There you go. Holy Moses. You can see the indentation. Look at my finger. Good grief, man. All right, I about had enough of this watch. Got some really cool stuff coming up soon. I've got some really cool citizens coming in, and we'll review those here in probably about a week or so. So that's about it, folks. Until the next review, I will see y'all later. Take care. Bye-bye.